More than half of podcasters quit before they even reach 10 episodes. I'm John Gehring, and I produce episodes for podcasters as well as a podcaster myself. And what I notice with aspiring podcasters is 3 huge mistakes that lead them to quitting before they even get off the ground. Number 1 is inconsistent posting. Consistency is the first and foremost rule of podcasting. Don't waste your time on making sure each episode is perfect. Better to get an episode out there on a consistent basis. Pick a day of the week and release one weekly. If you can't release one weekly, although weekly usually is best, better to stick to a consistent monthly schedule than an inconsistent once a week, maybe once every 3 weeks kind of schedule. Keep your audience engaged by communicating to them what they can expect out of your podcast. Number 2 is poor audio editing. And as someone who edits a lot of podcasts myself, I know this is a critical mistake. Podcasts that don't sound polished or professional. There's extraneous noises and dogs barking in the background, and they're just in a bad recording space, and that hasn't been fixed by audio enhancements. That's an automatic turnoff for a lot of podcast listeners. With so much content out there that's well produced, why choose something that's not? That kills your podcast before it even gets off the ground. And finally, number 3, something podcasters often neglect, it's show notes. Yeah, so often a podcaster thinks, well, that's just a place to describe my episode just so that, somebody can read and be attracted to it and maybe listen. And that's one thing, and sure, maybe that's important, but what's so much more important about a podcast show notes is the SEO ramifications of it. Make sure your show notes are loaded with key searchable terms that people are looking for when they're searching for a podcast in your category. If it's a podcast about entrepreneurship, make sure that word is in the show notes, or business, or maybe mental health or sports. It's so important that you reverse engineer the process and capture what people are searching for in those show notes, because that's what's going to show up in these podcast searches. And there really isn't a great way for you to organically grow without having SEO keywords in your show notes. So those are 3 mistakes for you to avoid if you're a new and aspiring podcaster that may make you quit before 10 episodes. Again, consider consistent posting. Consider solid audio editing, even if that's something you have to outsource. And consider writing SEO optimized show notes.